today I will be joined actually with one of my suppliers, one of my very close colleagues almost. Tune work together really close with their suppliers, and today the second session will be about one of the suppliers named Continental Disc Corporation, CDC. Philip today will provide the main presentation for today's session. So this is your contact from Tune, depending on what region you are located in. So in Europe, in Northern Europe, so if we start with Finland, for example, if you're placed in Finland, you will contact a person named Olli-Pekka. And if you're located in Sweden or in Norway, you will contact me, Alfred. If you're in the Baltic states, you will contact Andris. And if you're located in Poland, you will contact Dorota. So we are sales managers of different areas of Tune. I will hand over to Philip from CDC, and he will begin this main presentation of today's CDC partner.
Okay, good afternoon everybody, and thank you for joining. I would like to share my screen, and please tell me if everybody can see it. What I would like to talk about during today's session is naturally rupture discs, the main part of the business of Continental Disc Corporation, but from slightly different aspect than the usual, because we focus quite a lot on the important things like safety of that rupture discs deliver. But I also would like to examine whether they play any part in the actually in operations of the plant. And that's what I would like to examine through today's session. So at present, we are all finding ourselves, I think, in a very strange times due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and also it coincides with global economic slowdown. So regardless of which industry sector you are, we're all affected by this. If you're in industry sector that is growing, like for example pharmaceutical, you're under pressure to produce more and use your existing manufacturing capacity. If you're affected negatively by the COVID and economic slowdown situation, you still need to make your products and sell your products perhaps smarter or less expensive in order to compete. And what's been happening as well, our supply chains are affected by the situation. So all of this, in essence, translates into the impact on our bottom line, on our profitability as a companies. And that's a primary reason we all exist. So all this pressure on financial performance, we're going to examine a part of it. I mean, can be addressed through improvement of operational efficiency. So the more efficient we become, the less pressure we have on our financial performance. So there are other aspects of financial performance that are there and have an impact, but we're going to concentrate today purely on operational efficiencies. And so we all need to be more efficient. And what does it really mean for us? It means we have to be more productive. So we either have to produce more stuff, or we have to do it within a shorter period of time, or we need to do it constrained by a lot of other factors. And interestingly, one of them is going to be operational expenditure. So the more you're trying to manufacture, the more it costs for us to do this. And that's a whole theme behind today's conversation is, do rupture discs, being a small safety device, play any role whatsoever in all of this chain of events that we're trying to accomplish? So let's have a look. So in terms of productivity, the way we see it as manufacturing plants, Productivity means, I already touched, is either to increase production uptime, so we're making things more, or increase the throughput, so making, using the same amount of hours, the same equipment, the same facilities, but producing more of our goods. And also part of it is reduce product waste, which is quite important. The more we waste, the less we produce. So all of it is pretty basic and logical, I think. But at the same time, all of this, any intensification of manufacturing has a detrimental effect on the equipment that we're using. So we're talking about wear and tear. We're talking about our industrial controls are getting more compromised as we load them with more tasks. And this translates in expenditure in terms of the cost of the new equipment, cost of maintenance of it, and also, interestingly, it does produce waste sometimes as a result. So the less you control your process, the more opportunities to produce waste. And that's what we're actually trying to reduce. So it's constant struggle between the two. And what we're trying to do is, of course, to maximize productivity and minimize expenditure associated with this. In terms of rupture disks, is actually when we look at very similar scenario, what affects productivity in terms of rupture disk? Well, their reliability, in essence. The more, unfortunately, rupture disk cannot produce you more stuff. They are there for a very important reason, is to protect equipment and personnel on site. And it's of paramount importance. However, when we look at the role in a production chain and manufacturing chain, they don't actually produce anything. But their reliability has a direct impact on productivity. And it's affected again by the design of the rupture disk, the process conditions, the controls themselves, and by the preventative maintenance that you undergo. So it's kind of a very similar way we look at improving reliability as we are improving productivity. So we can put an equal sign between the two. And actually is, as you're trying to increase traditionally, if you look at the usual way people do it, is try to increase the reliability. It's of course being offset by the cost of you using of rupture disks. If you want to do more preventative maintenance, your stock sizes are very large, your consumption is going up, but also what we find in ourselves as well is our plants have not been built perhaps all of it at the same time. And as it's being built by different engineering firms or by ourselves, we ended up seeing a big variety of different rupture disks, so different designs, different vendors inside, and it's also have a direct impact on reliability because some of the designs are more reliable than others. So it's all creates this interesting situation where we're trying to increase productivity and intensify it, also with reduced personnel at the moment. And these all have direct impact on reliability of the rupture disks. Yeah? So in order to address this, in terms of rupture disks, if we compromise it and do nothing about it, then it will simply result with rupture disks failing prematurely. As I said, this is a typical scenario. Rupture disk fails, you end up with unscheduled stops and loss of all the stuff we're trying to achieve in terms of throughput, output, and waste. And it's causing us a margin erosion. And in order to address this, we naturally will try to carry either more stock, replace the disks more frequently, and also make sure we have stock available, because this is not a commodity product. You cannot buy it off the shelf. There is always a lead time associated with this. So, and all of this becomes increase in cost and again, limiting our ability to increase our productivity. So what we find ourselves in kind of a vicious circle almost. Or sometimes whoever seen the film or read the book, in a catch-22, when you're trying to do one thing and it has impact on the opposite thing, and which stops you in this, as I mentioned, vicious circle of what to do in this particular case. And it is a challenge, and especially the challenge which is now exaggerated by the events that we're going through, like COVID and general state of the economy. So what choice do we have in this particular? How can we address it? Can we address it? That's, I guess, the biggest question. Well, we can do nothing about this. Okay, this is just a state of affairs. Okay, it's all interesting to know, but just do nothing. Okay, so it's a choice. We can still ignore all of the detrimental aspects of it and just focus on production output. Let's try to produce more, and hopefully we'll outrun the costs. Okay, it's a choice and it's a direction somebody can try. Whether it will happen or not, okay, that's a big question, of course. Or we can try to focus on cost. Buy, for example, I don't know, cheaper equipment, yeah? Buy cheaper rupture discs in this particular case. And hopefully it will last as long as we want it to last, or the cost savings that we make by doing less maintenance and buying cheaper equipment is going to be less impactful on our margins and the consequence of us doing so. There are always risks associated with this. And I guess it's coming to a subject that there is a false choice in here, is to look at what technology is available on the market. Because the times are changing, you know, times are passing, new ideas, new solutions coming up in the market. And what we're proposing to do is actually try to see if the technology can help us to achieve both, increase our productivity, and at the same time reduce the cost of ownership. As earlier on the slides, please remember I mentioned, is if the rupture disk fails, it's a small and it's a relatively inexpensive device. But often it means the whole production stops, or important part of it. So that's why this, we believe, is quite an interesting subject, is to use technology and without compromising safety and our ability to produce things. That we at CDC have developed what we call an HPX family of rupture disks. It's more of a platform which we've been focusing on reliability without compromising the safety aspects of the rupture disks. And I believe as we're going to go through the this conversation later, we will be able to demonstrate this to you. But we managed to actually achieve both, unprecedented increase in reliability, but also increase in the safety of the plant. But instead of bombarding you with a lot of technical data here, which we can, and we have separate sessions available to go through more technical aspects, I would like purely to focus perhaps only three major aspects of the HPX family that has direct impact on actually running of the plant. Instead of using a rupture disk jargon and talk about things that perhaps less relevant. We'll start with 5 million cycles. On the paper, it perhaps looks like a marketing gimmick. Okay, we've tested to 5 million cycles. What does it mean to me? Well, in simpler terms, it means this is an accelerated fatigue test. Apart from the rupture disk burst events, I mean, as it bursts because of the overpressure events, as it's designed and intended, the number one factor of that contributes to disk-related plant stoppages is a disk fatigue. So in essence, 5 million cycles test, besides just being a very large number, Let me put it to you in a different perspective. It means that if you have in your process one cycle, pressure cycle per minute, and we're talking about from full vacuum up to its maximum operating pressure. The disk, if we remove any other aspects of the like corrosion and variations in temperature and etc., should last over 10 years in continuous process. Now think about this. What impact could it have? What opportunities can it give to us? Maintenance periods, more reliability to our production and manufacturing process. How much does it cost us to stop for half an hour, let's say for 1 hour, whilst we're changing the disk? So that is questions we must answer to ourselves first. But that is how we prove it. 5 million cycles. I don't think 10 million cycles would matter much in this particular case after 5 million, because I don't think there are processes in a process segment of the industry that experience such heavy cycling. But after what we've done, after 5 million cycles, we simply stopped and decided to check, and the disks were still performing as intended. 100% operating ratio, that's another thing which is very important. What does it mean? What it means is that typically, if you look at rupture disks, everybody gives you a formula. That this is your burst pressure, bracket minimum, maximum, or plus minus, as we sometimes like to say. And we would typically give our customers a ratio depending upon the design of the disk. So for example, your maximum operating pressure equals 90% of minimum burst pressure. So this leaves you with a 10% the gray area, what we would call. So which means, in essence, as your process starts crossing into that gray area with its operating pressure, you accelerate the fatigue of the disk, and then, as a consequence, or has a risk to fail prematurely. Okay, now we perhaps all experienced sometimes in our life in the manufacturing process where it's been designed to do one thing, but over the years, our products have changed that we manufacture, our operational conditions have changed, and what we find in ourselves often is starting to exceed this pressure, the limits, operating pressure limits, and which again starting to affect the performance of the rupture disks. With up to 100% operating ratio, we eliminate such problem. So this helps us, instead of trying to control our process better, we simply can say, okay, we know it's not like the original design. So instead of trying to, again, compromise our operations, we would simply use a safety device which is not sensitive to this. That's what it simply means. And then focus on what we do best, manufacturing our own products. So coming back again, the reliability through cycling resistance, plus not sensitive to any pressure spikes or issues with industrial controls or changes in the process. And number 3 is precision performance. Also, we must never forget about the safety factor in it, because, as I mentioned, the rupture disk burst pressure is represented in min-max brackets, in essence, because it's very difficult to manufacture a pressure relief device which always will burst at the same pressure numerically. So ASME code, for example, specifies plus minus 5%, which is a normal, typical thing in the manufacturing process. But if we combine our HPX family with precision that operates, because remember, HPX 95 can come with a 0% range, because that's another thing that we can add on top. A number of rupture disk manufacturers will say, okay, I can deliver you a very tight tolerance, but it will be in a wider range. But that's not what HPX family of products been designed to do. It will burst within a bracket specified on a paper. And then what it gives us with a 100% operating ratio, you'll never compromise the safety of the process, but it also allows you to bring the maximum operating pressure of the process up. Or you can say, okay, with this new product, I would like to still stay on the same level as the original rupture disk and have a bit of a safety margin at the top. So it gives you, again, when you go through validation process, let's say, of the new technology, safety would be probably the #1 concern that the engineering department will be looking at, being a safety device. And this aspect allows us to be absolutely sure that through introduction of HPX family, you are achieving at least the same safety standards as you expect, but often better, without compromising anything else. Remember, this goes together as one. This is not a choice between the three. It all comes in as one package. And coming back to the one of the last things I wanted to talk to you about from the design aspect is a platform that we're using. So we use the HPX platform within holded solutions, like shown on the screen. It has a lot of safety features, which prevents us from installing our maintenance crews installing it in the wrong way or in opposite direction. So there is a lot of features associated with this. But it also this platform extends on our low pressure designs, and we have a sanitary variant as well of HPX. So it does deliver benefits to, I would say, probably to 95% of the rupture disk requirement. 5% being ultra high pressure, ultra low pressure requirements, for which there are different solutions. But that is quite rare, and that is specific to certain industry segments, not in the general process industry. So, and what this platform means as well is that we, through our new product development, which is continuous, we will be adding new features to this. And once you already have an HPX platform, you can also, in the next 20 years, can benefit from various different new solutions that we're rolling and planning to roll out on the market. So all this together, for me, remember, fatigue resistance, increase less sensitivity to the changes in operational pressure, and precision bursts. All of this it positively impacts reliability. So, and at the end of the day, what are we achieving? So, in a layman's terms, if you put a more advanced disk or disk solution like here through technology, you will need it to have less maintenance. It will improve significantly the reliability of your plant, so significantly reduce a risk of any downtime whatsoever. It will be more accommodating to the any breakdowns or in controls on the process controls, or perhaps any inefficiencies in the process control, shall we say, and still deliver unprecedented amount of safety. So you're not going to compromise anything. And all of this comes at the reduced cost, because you will need less disks, you will need to carry less stock, you need to do less maintenance on it. So all of this combination is allowing us to actually achieve our original goal, is to increase the productivity of our plant. So if we don't experience any premature failures, and we don't have to stop for maintenance as often as we used to, here you go, a straight direct impact. Unfortunately, we cannot impact everything else, all the other equipment, but I'm sure our colleagues in other industry segments are working on it as well. And it comes together what we like to say as a partnership, because this is not the only thing that we say, okay, here's this technology, here's benefit to your process. But it doesn't stop there. For example, if you forget to order spares, let's say find yourself without any spare rupture discs, for example, our manufacturing capability gives us an ability to deliver and manufacture spare discs within 24 hours in delivery to you at very little cost increase, quite frankly, compared to anything on the market. Why? Because especially with HPX, it's what we're geared to build. That's what we're delivering to the market right now. Or HPX family, for example, and majority of our products compliance to all codes and national standards. So when you go through validation process, you should not worry about any of this, any of that aspect. Service, again, we have excellent partners as Turner Group. And we have our own, I think, being an American manufacturing, but we still have our own big customer service team in Europe and engineering team in Europe. So we can address any needs straight away on the same, without having to wait for differences in time zones. Sorry. And also, what I've just described to you is the technology impact on the productivity. But in order for us to implement it on a plant, there are a number of steps that we will work with you in order to deliver the maximum benefit. Things like to look at what variety you have. HPX family of products is brilliant to minimize variety of the plant, of the rupture discs in the plant. Our low pressure design, for example, can eliminate graphite. And I know, for example, in the pharmaceutical industry, there is a lot of pressure from FDA with regards to foreign object debris contamination. So Lotrix design for low pressure solutions is really good answer to this. And we carry out together with our partners quite a lot of training, on-site, web training, whichever you prefer, on not just on safety, but reliability. We talk about the procurement techniques, what matters when you buy rupture discs, what is a more efficient way to do it. So it's kind of an educational process. And one last thing that I like to do in my capacity as a category manager, because I'm involved, part of my responsibilities is new product development. It's work together with our customers and gear our NPD process towards our customers' needs, not necessarily only what our own engineers can come up with. So HPX development was a brilliant, for me, story of collaboration between industry and our engineering and NPD team. And you can see the actual benefits of this and the positive impact. So what we like to say is that the partnership with us can deliver and will deliver significant reductions in cost of ownership without compromising the safety and the quality that is quite important for our plants. So we're coming to the end of our conversation. I hope you managed to see the link between the rupture disc performance and operations of the plant. But the main takeaways, I guess, if I want to summarize, that I would like you to take from this all is rupture discs do have impact on your manufacturing process. Sometimes it's significant, depending on what you're doing and how you're doing it, what your manufacturing process is, but it will still have an impact on your operational efficiency. Now, what we're proposing, our technological solution to this, is not as kind of a stopgap, quick fix temporary things until all these negative effects of the world at the moment, like a pandemic or economic slowdown, causing us. And then after it all blows off, we are back to our normal selves. No, this is actually allow you to have a permanent improvements in your process, both safety, reliability, and impact on your productivity. So if you think about your plan for what am I going to do for next 20 years, well, this is what you're going to do. And they do significantly reduce cost of ownership, just beyond the simple price of the disc, beyond the number of the amount of money you spend per year on the Rapture discs. But I would like to challenge you to calculate what does it cost you or cost your production in terms of lost hours, loss of product, preventative maintenance, or non-preventative maintenance if it's an unscheduled stoppage. What you will find often is the cost of that aspect of the Rapture disc is horrendous compared to the actual cost of any Rapture disc. And that is what our aim to stop. Not really to affect the cost of spares, but to actually positively affect all of this other detrimental impact. And that's why we call it cost of ownership. And our partnership with us and our partners also will ensure that two things, that you're supported on any level, either commercially, from engineering, from manufacturing aspect, and also you will be the primary and the first recipients of any new technologies we introduce into the market, because it is likely we'll go to our existing good customers first when we come up with some ideas to test them or as a prototype, and rather than going to somebody we've never met before. It's natural. So, and in a lot of cases, it might give you some edge over your competition. Who knows? And I guess my last question to everybody is, can you really afford not to do it? Because it's kind of, I think the positive impact outweighs any concerns or that you might have. So that is the end of this. By all means, please, I would be prepared to answer any questions if you have with regards to this presentation or any other. Thank you for listening.